Breaking news! Something important is happening within the Ravens organization, and no one is saying it out loud. The latest injury news may seem routine, but when you connect the dots, a much darker picture begins to emerge. From questionable coaching decisions to cryptic comments in press conferences, it's not just about losing games, it's about losing control. There's one specific statement from John Harbaugh that could completely change how fans view this season, and it's flying under the radar. But before we get into it, be sure to like this if you're a true Ravens fan. It's always amazing to see fans of all ages cheering for this team. And if you'd like, leave a comment saying, "Still flying with the flock," to show you haven't given up, because this could be the turning point. Let's find out exactly what's going on behind the scenes. The Ravens defense just took a major blow, and this one could echo through the rest of the season. John Harbaugh officially announced that defensive lineman Nnamdi Madubuike is out for the year with a neck injury. It's the kind of injury that goes beyond football, the kind that makes you worry about the player's life, not just his season. And to make matters worse, Harbaugh didn't exactly ease any fears about a potential career-ending situation. He said those are questions for Madubuike to address. That's not reassuring, that's chilling. Madubuike had come out of the gate on fire this season, looking like the dominant force he was in 2023. He was racking up pressures and sacks at an elite level, 9 quarterback pressures in just a few games, a 15.6% pressure rate against Buffalo, and double-digit disruption against Cleveland. This was supposed to be his year. And now, just like that, it's over. The ripple effects of losing Madubuike are massive. The Ravens' front four was already struggling, but now they're missing the most disruptive piece. That's why so many eyes are on GM Eric DeCosta to make a move before the trade deadline. Harbaugh hinted it's on the table, but fans are demanding more than speculation. They want action. Names like Jeffrey Simmons, Dexter Lawrence, and Quinnen Williams are being floated by fans and insiders alike. And Simmons, in particular, could be realistic, especially with the Titans expected to be sellers. But can Baltimore actually pull the trigger? They need to, because right now, the defensive unit is crumbling. Not just figuratively, but physically. They're missing up to 7 defensive starters, including Roquan Smith, Kyle Van Noy, Travis Jones, Broderick Washington, Nate Wiggins, and now possibly Marlon Humphrey. That's a full unit of missing firepower. And even when some of those guys were healthy, let's be honest, the defense still wasn't good. Which brings us to Lamar Jackson. John Harbaugh said something that really shook the room. There was no way Lamar Jackson was going back into that game. The injury precluded it. That's the quote, and it confirms what many fans were already speculating, but it also opens the door to even more concern. Because if this is a legitimate hamstring injury, that means Lamar's status for the next few games is in serious jeopardy. And with games against the Texans, Rams, Bears, and Dolphins all stacked up before the bye, the Ravens can't afford to be without their QB1. Sitting at 1-3, Baltimore is already behind the curve. Drop another game or two without Lamar, and this season could be out of reach by mid-October. But here's the flip side. If Lamar wasn't seriously injured, if this was more of a precaution or a quiet decision to not risk further damage, then the optics get messy. Because this fan base is already asking whether Lamar quit on the team during the Chiefs game. And now, the line between truth and damage control is getting blurry. The team says he's questionable for Sunday against Houston. That's already unsettling. There's a scenario where they hold him out until after the bye, potentially targeting the Week 8 matchup against Chicago for a full return. But how does this team survive 2 more games without him? Is Cooper Rush ready to lead this offense with a broken defense behind him? That's a tough ask, and it's made even tougher when you look at the state of Marlon Humphrey. Humphrey's calf injury will sideline him for at least a couple of weeks, possibly until after the bye. And honestly, his absence might not hurt that much, because he hasn't been playing like Marlon Humphrey. The stats are ugly. 11 receptions allowed on 15 targets, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 146.4 passer rating when QBs throw his way, and a brutal 28.6% missed tackle rate. That's not the All-Pro we know. Maybe this injury is a chance for him to reset, refocus, get back to form, but time is running out. And finally, we have to talk about Zach Orr. The defensive coordinator is under the microscope like never before. This defense isn't just underperforming, it's setting records in the wrong direction. The Ravens are currently on pace to allow 565 points this season. That would be the worst mark in the history of the NFL. Think about that. Harbaugh says he still has confidence in Orr, that the injuries and field position have put the defense in a tough spot. But let's be real, this is a Ravens defense. It's supposed to be elite. It's supposed to be feared. Right now, it's barely functional. The bottom line is this: the Baltimore Ravens are unraveling. The injuries are piling up, the play calling is questionable, and the leadership is under fire. Everything that was supposed to be a strength, Lamar's playmaking, the defensive identity, the veteran coaching, is now part of the problem. And fans are wondering, is this season salvageable? The stakes have never been higher, and the pressure on this front office is boiling over. Ravens fans aren't just frustrated with the injuries or the losses, they're frustrated with the silence, the vague answers, the lack of accountability. Week after week, players are dropping, performances are slipping, and all fans get in return are soft press conference sound bites. We're close. We believe in the group. It's not as bad as it looks. But guess what? It is. Let's be blunt. Baltimore is hanging on by a thread. And while Eric DeCosta is known for playing it close to the vest, now is not the time for patience. Now is not the time to hope things just magically click. This team is one more injury, one more embarrassing loss away from a full implosion. So the fans are demanding urgency. And it starts with the defensive front. Losing Nnamdi Madubuike was catastrophic. He was the engine of this front four. The only one consistently collapsing the pocket and getting in quarterbacks' faces. And now, without him, there's a massive gap that no amount of rotation or optimism is going to fix. John Harbaugh himself admitted they'll consider a move. But fans don't want consideration, they want commitment. Jeffrey Simmons is the name that keeps coming up, and it's not hard to see why. He's violent at the point of attack, he eats double teams, and he'd instantly give this defensive line an identity again. The Titans are fading fast. If they're selling, and let's be honest, they will be, Simmons should be DeCosta's top priority. This is the kind of move that says, we're still in this. This is the kind of move that could jolt the locker room back to life. Because right now, morale is low. And it's not just on the field. The post-game silence from the team, especially from its leaders, after the loss to the Chiefs was deafening. Nobody stepped to the podium. Nobody took responsibility. And while fans don't expect wins every week, they do expect their team to stand tall in defeat. That's what leaders do. But not a single voice stepped forward. That silence echoed louder than any scoreboard ever could. And that brings us right back to Lamar. The uncertainty around his injury is doing more damage than anyone wants to admit. Because if he's seriously hurt and can't play for a couple of weeks, fine. The team and the fans can accept that. But if he's sitting because of tightness, or if there's even a perception that he's not pushing through for his team, the message it sends to the locker room is devastating. This team needs someone to rally around. It needs a warrior. A face of the franchise that leads from the front, especially when everything is falling apart. And if Lamar isn't that guy, then who is? Because right now, it's not Roquan Smith, he's hurt. It's not Marlon Humphrey, he's underperforming and now out. And it's certainly not John Harbaugh, who seems more disconnected with every passing week. This is a leadership vacuum, and the Ravens are paying the price. Look at the next 4 games: Texans, Rams, Bears, Dolphins. All winnable, all must-wins. Because if Baltimore stumbles again, if they go 1-5 or even 2-4 heading into the bye, it's over. The division will be gone. The playoff hopes will be on life support. And the locker room? It could fracture beyond repair. So the question becomes, what kind of team are the Ravens going to be? Do they fold under the pressure? Do they let the season slip away while waiting for the next man to return from injury? Or do they make a move, light a fire, and remind everyone what this franchise used to stand for? This is a pivotal moment in Baltimore Ravens history. Not just a bad start, but a potential tipping point. The decisions made in the next 14 days will define this season. And maybe more than that, they could define the next era of Ravens football. So we want to hear from you. Do you still believe this team has what it takes? Should Lamar Jackson suit up no matter what? Or should the Ravens protect him at all costs? Is a trade the answer? Or is this roster too far gone to salvage? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Make sure you're subscribed for non-stop Ravens updates, and check out the video on screen right now for even more in-depth coverage. Ravens Nation, your voice matters. Let's hear it.